Well, what Jesus is saying is, in Matthew 6:12, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, gives us the opportunity to either live the abundant life, that's what the Lord's Prayer is. It's everything you need to have an abundant life. Everything you need to have God adding to your life everything possibly that you'd ever need or want or desire, and exceedingly abundantly above all that. Or we can have the tormented life. Now, we're going to go through this passage, but let me start there. Go to chapter 18, because I want to show you what happens to people that don't forgive. And Jesus told the story. Now, all of you know this story, but let me just show you a couple of details. Matthew 18, starting verse 21. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, see, Peter's still thinking about the Lord's Prayer, where the Lord said, forgive their trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And it's only been 12 chapters of the ministry of Christ, and Peter's starting to think about that. And he says, Lord, how often am I supposed to do what you said in that prayer that has become the framework of my life? How often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? And Peter, up to 7 times? I mean, he really thought that Jesus was going to give him a star, on his chart for a good answer. And Jesus said, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. It's very hard to count to 490. We forget where we are. You know what I mean? In other words, you can't even keep track of it, so just keep doing it. That's what 70 times 7 is. And so therefore, then Jesus tells a story. Jesus was so good at telling these stories that really captivated everybody till he gets to the last 2 verses. And then they said, what did you say? So let's read the story. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle his accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle his accounts, it was brought to him one who owed him 10,000 talents. Now, most people earned a denarius a day, a little coin. Remember, when Jesus talked about the man that came, he gave everybody a penny. That's a denarius. It's just a day's pay. And so a normal person would earn, working a normal work week, about 250 of these little pennies a year, because, they didn't work on the Sabbath day, and they, maybe they did work 6 days a week, but then it would be 300 pennies a year. So how much is 10,000 talents? Well, 1 talent was 6,000 of those pennies. So 1 talent was like 20 years' work. 20 years. Half of a career. 10,000 talents? That's 164,000 years' work. What is that? It's an incomprehensible, unrepayable amount. I mean, to do 1 talent, to spend your lifetime repaying a debt for 1 talent is a lot. To do 164,000 lifetimes, you never could do that. So he owed him an impossible sum, 10,000 talents. But he was not able to pay. His master commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, all that he had, and their payment be made. Which is really a mean thing, because they can never repay. If you're in jail, you can't, pay it back. So the servant, therefore, verse 26, fell down and said, Master, have patience with me, I will pay you all. Liar. Couldn't. What a bad attitude. But the master of that servant was moved with compassion. What is the most frequently recorded emotion of Jesus Christ in the Gospels? Compassion. If you want to know Jesus' prime emotion, it says constantly he was, and the Greek word is splanknoi. You know what splanknoi means? It means what we would call a visceral reaction, or we feel it in our stomach. The ancients felt that the center of our feeling was our stomach, because you know how it tightens up, you get nervous, and people get butterflies in their stomach, or they get sick to their stomach, or whatever. It's because the seat of emotions in the Greco-Roman world was right here, in the splanknoi. Actually, these are our intestinal areas. That always makes me think, what did they do on Valentine's Day? If the seat of emotions was not the heart, can you imagine getting chocolate intestines in a box on Valentine's Day? No, don't. See, I have to be careful, because I think about these things. But he was moved, the king, the master of that servant, verse 27, was moved with compassion, splanchnoy. He felt compassion. He released him, forgave him the debt. The servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 days' pay. So what's that? 5 weeks, just over a month. He owed 164,000 lifetimes. See, he tries to make this a big contrast. 100 denarii, verse 28. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat and said, "Pay me what you owe." So this fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him and said, "Have patience with me, I will pay you all." And he could. You could work off that debt. You could pay it back. And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. He made it impossible for that debt to ever be paid because the guy was in prison and he couldn't work and couldn't repay it. Then his master after him, verse 31. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved, and they came and told their master all that had been done. And their master after him called him and said to him, "You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt, 164,000 lifetimes, because you begged me. Should you not also have just had compassion on your fellow servant as I had pity on you?" And his master was angry and delivered him. Oh, this is where this gets very unsettling. Jesus said, if you practice daily cleansing, you have this abundant life where I am going to supply you, where I'm going to protect you, where I'm going to lead you, where I'm going to control you, where I'm just going to add everything that you need to your life. That's the abundant life, when God is doing it and running it. But what is the tormented life? Oh, look at verse 34. The master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. That's okay. This is just a story until you get to verse 35. Who's talking? What color is this if you have a red letter Bible? So who's talking? Yeah. And Jesus says in verse 35, "So my heavenly Father also will do to you." God is going to do that to us? If each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses? Wow.